Good morning and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today, How One Data Accelerates Your Tableau Investment, Avoid the Crippling Costs of Siloed Data. With today's talk, I'd like to encourage you to get curious about your own data and your data landscape. And at the end of it, we'll have a great conversation that Ollie and I have prepared for you. I'm very excited to guide you through this experience, as the content is going to give you a peek into who is One Data, what are the challenges that we're seeing, and how can we help you solve that. Before we get started, let's cover some quick housekeeping topics. As a reminder, all attendee lines are muted, and you're welcome to pose questions in the question section of the GoToWebinar control panel. So as we move, let's get into the agenda. So what we're going to be covering today, obviously today's challenges, we'll set the scene for the conversation. We'll talk a little bit about One Data and how we think about data mesh, as this is a key topic for data leaders, IT teams, and really businesses at large in terms of accessing and managing data. We'll also talk a little bit about One Data and our key capabilities with our data product builder. And for today's conversation, we'll focus on our use case with Tableau. This will include a live demo followed by a Q&A. So who are these people on the screen? Your host for the day, I'm Neda Tallier, Marketing Director here at One Data. I oversee product and content, and I'm joined by my co-host Oliver Linder, Senior Alliances Manager. Hey, Ollie.
Yeah, hello. Hi, Neda. Nice to see you. And also all the other people here in the audience. Yeah, my name is Ollie, or Oliver. I've spent around 20 years in the data analytics space and the reporting area, including BI consultant and pre-sales at IBM Cognos and quite recently at Tableau. And now since the last October here at One Data as a Senior Alliance Manager, taking care of all the technical integrations into One Data. And over the last 20 years, I always seen the same challenges that companies and people have when it comes to using data, and happy to take over later on when it comes to technical stuff and the demo itself. Back to you, Neda.
Thanks, Ollie. And as he said, welcome everybody and thank you for joining us. So I'm Neda Tallier. Spent the last 13 years working in the space of data and analytics, mostly in the marketing function, but working with data and IT teams to actually help build and deliver data for analysis, company reporting, KPIs, revenue planning. And in my history, I've also spent time at Tableau, where I helped lead our enterprise and IT initiative. And this is actually really where I learned a lot of the complexities of both managing a data tech stack, as well as actually managing the data, the teams who are actually building and enabling the business with data. And obviously I have firsthand experience with the challenges of actually accessing data. Being in marketing, we have a lot of different data coming from different systems. So we're excited to be here today talking to you, and we can jump into a little bit about who's One Data. So One Data is formerly known as One Logic. We were started in Germany 10 years ago and founded on the premise to help companies get started using more of the data. Our mission is to enable data experts to build data products that business users need. And we'll talk a little bit more about what data products are, how we see them, and actually look at how we build them. To date, our highly experienced team has helped build and deliver over 2,000 data products across top organizations. And the process of both building and delivering these data products within our company is really why and how we built, and the reason for building our core product known today as One Data's AI product builder. In 2021, we were honored by Gartner as a cool vendor for AI technology. And really, this is given to companies who are leading in the space of AI and ML, which is also pieces of what you'll see as we get into the actual demo and talk about our core capabilities. Today, some of our customers include ThyssenKrupp, Marquardt, Schott, Payback, as well as ZF, And obviously we have many other customers that you don't see here on the slide who are building data products. But one thing is for certain, what we saw and experienced at all of these companies is consistent within each customer. So what are the challenges that are actually being faced today? Well, before we get into that, I'm actually going to launch a little poll and we'll talk about it live. So the question for the audience, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to data? We'll take just a couple minutes here to launch the poll. And please take a moment to just drop your response and we'll collect some information here. Okay, so we're starting to see that data quality is a pretty persistent issue. Access to data, sources, and systems. And in several cases, we're not able to see the data that's actually available. We'll let this go for another 20 seconds, if not less, but we're actually seeing quite some shifts here. Let's see if we can get a couple more folks to vote. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap up the poll and let's actually look at some of the results. So what we are seeing in terms of our biggest data challenge is distributed, but obviously a lot around data quality issues, unknown ownership of data assets, and we're not able to see the data that is available for analysis. So these are all things that we're actually going to talk a little bit about today, and actually many of these challenges are actually things that we can actually help solve for within One Data. So we'll definitely touch on this. Thank you so much for supporting the poll and for participating. All right, so let's actually talk a little bit more about the challenges in the landscape that we have today. So before we come to the practical hands-on piece, let's set the scene, right? We live in a world of data and we need to develop smart and innovative approaches to leverage business value across all points of the business process. Today, every business value chain is highly dependent on the data and is also, what we know is it's only as strong as its weakest data point. In short, every business improvement starts with data and the results in a discussion about how to access and leverage data that is often hidden in silos. And the real value of data is not in storing excessive amounts of data, collecting it from everywhere, but really in understanding the data landscape that exists and being able to discover it, connect to it, and support it, and use it to support decision making. What we know and what we see consistently is that obviously data is siloed. We have dark data that still exists. People are collecting it from different areas of the organization in an inconsistent way. It's often incompatible. We have to perform lengthy transformations. There's often redundant data, if not redundant data attributes distributed across systems. It's hard to access. And we've got many formations of data in many variations. And so this leads us to the next set of challenges, right? We're collecting data, but the reality is we're capturing more data across different systems than maybe we need to. There's a lot of pressure on data leaders that are investing millions and have been investing millions into the resources of people, right? But what we're seeing is there's a lot of time wasted in cleaning, preparing, moving through operational costs. And at the end of it, we had this promise of the perfect data stack that in reality exists to some extent, but is imperfect when it comes to actual process and getting data into the hands of users. We have some great BI, we have some great data science tools on the market that are really helping to advance, and we're still missing a core piece of access to data and enablement around the actual data that exists. So what we'll see is this. For even the most innovative companies, the problem of connecting, accessing, and deploying data still persists. We have data from across different value points in the organization, our company-owned data, data owned by customers, customers and suppliers, as well as independent market data, traffic, weather, etc. And the people working closest to this data and to the business often still cannot answer the questions they have, and we can all agree to this. And so this is really the opportunity that we have today, is really learning and figuring out how do we bring this distributed data together. So what do? Oftentimes we focus on our own data, we leverage it from the silos we have, and we have limited control and creation across the business value chain. So when it comes to connecting independent market data, it's often deprioritized because, getting to the actual data, bringing in potentially supplier data takes so much time and energy that often we don't even get to the third step. And this really makes realizing the full value and all of the potential available data impossible. So what business and data teams need today is to be able to access more of the company's data in a comprehensive data landscape powered with all of the data that exists. And that's actually where and why we've actually created One Data. One Data enables data teams to ingest data from across silos, including internal, supplier, or third-party data, and provides users with a comprehensive view into the complete data landscape. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. Our interactive data map becomes a foundation for end-to-end product creation, exploration, and supports the delivery of reliable data products for business users or BI data science team to actually be able to analyze, including moving it into third-party tools to help drive different products that you've developed. One Data also gives data experts the visibility into available connection points between the different data assets that shows record linkage, edges, matches between different data assets, and really allows a data expert to really understand what they're working with. And this is a critical piece to the puzzle, right? From a data perspective, being able to see the attributes, really being able to understand the connections, the lineage, allows them to begin preparing the data, manipulating the data, and packaging the data in a way that can be used immediately for analysis. So why is this important? Well, I think it's fair to say the data request queue still exists, and it's fueled by increasing business demand. The more information that businesses have, the more they know they should be using data to drive decisions or drive innovation, drive business performance, the higher the demand comes on IT teams. And for the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years, we're still seeing the same problem persist. We live in a world where the request queue comes in, businesses are filling out, I need X, Y, Z, and at the end of the day, IT teams are still overrun with requests. They have two options, they can react in two different ways. Sometimes they prioritize the request, it may come from an executive top down, and they are maneuvering to be able to build something very quickly, which is often not sustainable in the long term, and it's not something that can be efficiently managed. And then we have the second problem, which is sometimes the request queue answers just never get met in time, and so businesses making decisions. And it typically looks a little something like what we'll see next. A little bit of panic, right? The demand is on, the pressure is on, while the business teams are waiting for data products to be delivered or data assets. And this is what creates a lot of friction still in the process of building and delivering data products. And fortunately, we actually have a really great solution to this. And oftentimes when we think about data and the difficulties, is that it's really about coming up with an approach that is decentralized, the ability to manage it at scale. There's ownership opportunities, and this is where we'll introduce the topic of data mesh. So let's talk a little bit about what are the core tenets of data mesh. We have domain ownership, federated computational governance, data as a product, and obviously a self-serve data platform. What we know here at One Data is that when people treat their data as a product, there's ownership that comes with it, there's responsibility, there's accountability. There's a lot of buzz around what do these words mean? How do we actually do them within an organization? How do we put them into practice? And I think that's a little bit actually about where our 10 years of experience comes into fruition. We can help data teams, show them how to treat data as a product within our platform. And obviously there's a lot of change management that would take place, but this is actually a core piece of the data mesh principle in terms of treating data as a product and what does that actually mean in practice. And the benefits of this, it shields business consumers from the complexity of sourcing data. It also shields data scientists and those who are responsible for helping drive innovation using data with the ability to actually build and consume data in a more productive way. And this is actually what contributes to feelings of responsibility and accountability, and also supporting the upkeep of data products. So another important aspect of the data mesh is really about keeping data where it is. It's about making it transparent, making it understandable so that data experts and the business teams can have a grab and go approach and only take the data that is needed for their analysis. The picture on the right actually gives you an idea of exactly this. So One Data makes your data landscape visible. It provides visibility into all of the data assets that you have. It supports building and managing data products and allows you to deploy them to a third-party interface called the data product marketplace. And this is really where business consumption can take place, as well as visibility and discovering what data exists. The user of the data products can rest assured that he or she uses up-to-date and quality checked, connected, easy to understand data products that are provided in the data product marketplace. And this is a really great piece in terms of understanding what is existing, but also being able to reliably trust the data that exists because you know it's maintained and managed. And with our AI-powered data mechanism, One Data can help you and supports you in finding connections between data assets. So what does that actually look like in practice? Let me introduce you to One Data and how it helps you deploy data products to the business in 80% less time. We have some core capabilities. One of those is around connecting. So bringing data in from your internal, external, any third-party data sources, we're able to ingest that data into our data platform and actually provide it in an interactive data map. This allows discovery to happen more quickly and efficiently, more effectively, really understanding what data exists and what data products might have been already built so that you're not doing redundant work. It allows data scientists or data experts to prepare the data in a reliable and reusable, easy to manage way. And this is really about access and understanding what exists. On the other side of it, you're able to run quality checks across one data asset or many data assets. And this is really around governance at scale, really understanding the management of the data product, ensuring its reliability, it's trustworthy, it's accurate. And then we can deploy it to the data product marketplace, which is where both the data experts and business users can access the data, understand what data products exist, and then leverage those in any third-party systems. And that's really around integration. And what we're here to talk about today is this Tableau and One Data integration. So hopefully this gives you a good overview about what we do, how we do it, how we think about it, and really why One Data is here today. And Ollie, I think this is a great opportunity for me to transition it over to you. And before we do, one more poll just to get an understanding of who's in the room, what type of roles that you play, and where your responsibilities live within your organization. So if you don't mind, we'll just drop in a couple questions here for everybody. If you take about 30 seconds to answer, I would love to understand who's in the room and what your roles are so that we can cater the conversation in the best possible way. So looks like we have a lot of BI roles and analysts in the room. Thanks so much for joining. Also some data engineers and architects with some administrators. Excellent. Nice to have you all. All right, so we are heavy with BI and analytics teams. as well as data engineers and architects. Great. All right, Ollie, I will wrap up the poll and turn it over to you.
And I will switch on my camera so you can see me now. So it's not a one-woman show. Thanks, Neda, for all the introduction of why we are here and why we are doing what we do. So I take over in the more technical stuff. So let's have a look at the architecture Tableau One Data is built on. So One Data can operate on premise or in the cloud. If that is a question for the Q&A, so got to answer now. And One Data integrates seamlessly into your existing data landscape, and its core, it's built on Kubernetes cluster and Kubernetes containers, so it can be installed wherever you have a Kubernetes running. So on the left side, you can see all the data sources. I recently saw a survey from a research company, and it says that companies have to deal with over 400, even sometimes over 1,000 data sources, and it's quite hard to connect to all these and get insight into these data sources. And we connect relational data sources like Oracle, MS SQL, Postgres, and data file types on Amazon and Google or Microsoft, for example, or Parquet, CSV, JSON files, whatever you want to call them. And actually, based on One Data, we have automated landscape visualization. You saw it, or you see it here in the map in the middle. So based on the map, data experts can actively manage metadata, see data lineages, where the data comes from, where it flows to, between the data assets, and also validate and monitor the data quality automatically. As we saw, this is a big challenge here in the audience as well. So data assets can be integrated based on AI mapping and matching algorithms to easy to use data products, and then can be published on the marketplace. So end users or data stewards, for example, can self-serve what they want to need, where they want to use the data products that are managed in One Data, that have clear ownership, are easy to find and accessible. And business user can request and pull data products from the marketplace in their own, for example, data-driven applications, external data catalogs, data science tools as Databricks or Python, or visual analytics tools like Power BI or Tableau. So apropos talking about Tableau. So we are here in a Tableau One Data webinar, and I'm proud to announce that recently One Data has become a select technology partner in the Tableau Partner Network ecosystem. So the Tableau Partner Network provides customers with a transparent view of Tableau partner engagements and quality levels, with a tiering system that assigns reseller services and technology partners to Premier, Select, and Member levels. And becoming a select technology partner of Tableau means you need to have a proper and valuable technical integration. And this integration will be also part of our demo today. So let's get started with the fun part, the demo session. Before I jump live into the system, I brought a nice demo scenario, I would say. So as some of you may know, I grew up in the Ruhrgebiet, and if you grew up here, then football is all around you. And during my time at Tableau, I learned much about football and behind the scenes, and recognized actually that football clubs have the identical data challenges like all other companies in the market. So these are the best examples. Everybody can refer on that. And I hope I can give you a bit more insights about also football, but also what data they must deal with and how they solve some of the problems. So question for you. What are the worst situations in football besides losing a game? So not only assets or data is an asset in football clubs, but also the players, right? And losing important and most expensive players due to injuries is really a worst scenario clubs have to face. My demo scenario will cover the question, how can we avoid injuries? And maybe you can remember these two scenarios. So Mbappé got injured, and also quite recently when Dortmund was playing in London against Chelsea in the second game, and Julian Brandt has to be substituted in the 4th minute, and he was actually the player of the game in the first game here in Dortmund, which was won by Dortmund. So they lost the game, and they flew out of the quarterfinals. So I think you will agree when I say football players cost a lot of money, but not only when you buy them, but especially when they got injured. So Mbappé, Neymar, De Bruyne, Neuer, and many others, you want them to play and not to sit on the bench or in a medical department. So unfortunately, football players are only humans and have bodies that can be injured. So they can't be on the field and influence positively the game. So this costs every season much money, as you can see here in the chart. These costs must be minimized. As you can see in the chart, these costs are multiple millions each season. That is not only because they're not on the pitch, but also merchandising, ticket pricing, and so on, because they are not playing. So much less fans come into the stadium maybe. And the most interesting fact is that 65% of all injuries are muscular without contact. So how can we avoid these muscular injuries? Thanks to health insurance or health science, there are many KPIs that can be used to reduce the risk of these kind of injuries. In my scenario, I would like to concentrate on one important measure. This is the acute chronic workload ratio, called ACWR. This KPI tracks the load of a player and gives insight about the over or underload, as you can see in the picture here on the left-hand side. There is a sweet spot in the middle where the injuries risk is low. An injury can still happen, but much less expected than being in the danger in the red zone, so highway to the danger zone if you don't have the data. To calculate this, actually, you need gapless data, and that at minimum over the last 28 days, because the calculation says the average load of the last 7 days divided by the average load of the last 28 days, and this should be between 0.8 and 1.0 of the ratio. So, but you say, well, it's simply, there is the calculation, just calculate it and then you are done. The point is that the players are not doing every day the same. You have matches, domestic and international matches. You have training, you have recovery, you have individual trainings, and all these sessions produce new data, but they are stored in different ways. And you can add sleep quality and nutrition and mental health and so on and so forth into that play. But the point is, connecting all these data is really, really hard. And in my demo scenario, I have two personas. The first one is the fitness coach who wants to get access to that data to prepare all the training sessions. And on the right-hand side, you have the data expert who is preparing then the curated and the quality checked and so on data product, providing to the end users, not only for the fitness coach, but also for others. The demo session will include also a product outlook. So not everything is currently in the product, but it's currently in internal releases and will release shortly. So switch to our map. So what you can see here is actually a map of all the data landscape. And since I've been in the data space, we are talking about the data landscape at companies, but why do we deal with data catalogs then, right? Just to list all the assets that we have, we lose all the context. So in our case here, we can see here that we ingested data from the Postgres, from MySQL, from OneData, from MS SQL. So we have distributed data in our company. And also there is something like the data product request flow. And we can see here that there has been one data product requested on the left-hand side, and this is actually then the involvement of data products. And I look into the request. So let's have a look into what's going on here. So we can see what should the data product name be, and in the business domain, and it should be updated frequently, so in daily manner. And also that we have 5 columns, which is the ACVR sprint and the total distance, and also the player, the date, and the type of session. So I take over that request and I move this request to the next level of deployment. So in development, so I moved it in the next stage. Now I'm the data scientist and I search for all the data. So because we have not only visualized all the data, but I would like to see, for example, in which assets sprint is stored. And now I can search for all the assets on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side. And what you get actually in data catalogs is just a list of all the assets, right? On our side, we can see highlighted, like in a Google map, where the data comes from. And it comes from Postgres, it comes from MySQL, from MS SQL, MySQL, nothing from OneData. And also in each and every map, you are able to zoom into these levels, and we have the possibility to go down to the individual assets. So there are 5 elements highlighted from different sources. Let's hover over, and as I said, you can actively manage the metadata. Let's have a look into the properties of that asset. So we can see, for example, there are 58 number of rows. When has it been updated and created? You are able to add more elements, and also you can see directly the columns. And there are much more columns that I need for my data product. So I don't have to extract all the information to a data warehouse, for example, because this is not intended in the data mesh concept. You keep the data where it is. You just pull out the data that you need for the data products. And also we can jump into what the data looks like actually from the content perspective. Okay, so we found our, fast forward, we found all our assets, and let's switch gears, and let's imagine we already created our data products, and we'll show you that in a moment. Now we can see almost the same map, but now with the data product. So because we have this kind of spider mode, I just click on the same level or the same asset, and we can see directly where this asset belongs to. So we have here, it's called performance load ACVR. And when I click it, you can see how the data flows from this different sources into that element. So because the data product was built in OneData, the edges are directly shown. Let's see what the properties are. And we have a link here to the workflow that is underneath OneData within the OneData platform. You can see here also, and this is just a brief introduction into the workflow builder, where you can see how many processes we are offering, like quantity methods and also advanced methods where you can write your own Python or R code without leaving the platform. Let's switch back. And you said that sometimes it's really hard to ensure the data quality. So you're able here to zoom in, zoom out based on attributes that you have prepared in your metadata, but also on the left-hand side, you can add more layers. For example, where does my GDPR relevant data comes from? So during the ingestion, we have an AI algorithm and a pattern analysis where we can scan actually pattern like email address or credit cards and individual things, and you can directly tag these information, and you directly see here where your GDPR relevant information comes from. Also the quality. So because in my case, we just started with one data, we have just a couple of quality checks here. And there is, for example, all these blue thing, they don't have any issues at all, but there's one thing or one data asset that has some issues. Let's have a look into the quality checks. And you can see that from 7 overall checks, 3 has successfully finished and 4 failed. You can also see what is the reason, what is the rule, and so on and so forth. So you get a really transparency and into the quality of your data. Okay, so what we are now doing actually with our data product. So once we created the data product, we are able to publish that data product into our marketplace, because people, end user, don't want to use all the raw data. They just want maybe to have a data marketplace where they can search for, as you can see here, let's go back to the origin, and many of the data products there are, let's switch back to the base layer. They're stored in one data and also in one in Postgres, but maybe this is not the technical hierarchy I would like to see. I would like to categorize based it on a business hierarchy. And as you can see here now from the business hierarchy, there are 2 different data assets related to CRM, medical one, sport, marketing, and operations. And also on the right-hand side, you can see that, for example, this has a totally different hierarchy based on my definition. Also, NADA is responsible, for example, for 2 different data products, Colleen, Hannah, and Lars as well. And what are the assets for? Well, player health and performance load. So player health and performance load is quite interesting because both has maybe common information. And I would like to get transparency and recommendations how these data products can be used. So I just highlight and I ask one data to show me a column linkage. So in the background, there is an algorithm now running based on these 2 elements and say, well, it can be that there are available links, but please save them or please check if they are really very available, and I can save them here for further use. And you can directly see that there is now a linkage. We don't have physically linked data, but it's just a recommendation. Okay, now I'm here the fitness coach. I'm ending up here in the marketplace, and I would like to use this data product now in my favorite visualization component. We can see here there is a Tableau connection. I'm already logged into my Tableau online account on my site. I can use my username and a password or my personal access token. And now I'm able to export this data product to Tableau. You can choose actually where the data product should be stored, what is the name, what is the output, and also because in the background, as I said, or as requested, the data should be updated daily. And I would like to also automatically update the data in Tableau. And I did that already, as in every good cook session. So go back to show the products, the properties, and down below you can see it has been published to Tableau. This is the link. This is the data, the project where it's stored, and also it gets an update automatically on Tableau. So let's jump into the session or into, oh, there we go. So we have the performance load. We already see that there is one workbook connected. But on the other side, I would like to know where the data comes from. It has been created by OneData. To round up the story, I built up a dashboard that shows me actually the ACVR based on the long distance and also on the sprints. You can see that most player, and these data is real data from a club, but anonymized. So most players of that are really, yeah, in the green area. So the risk of getting injured is quite low, but there are some outliers. So if I click here, for example, on one player, and you really can see that in the area of August until the 8th of September, there was a high ACWR value on sprints. Then it got injured, the player. Based on the session, I can see that was the recovery unit. So he has to recover, and then he got back into the training unit and also in the individual unit. So we can see that if the data has been would have been collected previously or earlier, then we could have seen that there is an overload of that player, and we could have avoided that injury. So that rounds up actually what currently is in the space or is in the product. Now we come to the product outlook, and somebody else is using, for example, that dashboard here. Let's say not the fitness coach, but it's the chef coach. And so in Tableau, we do have some kind of lineage. We can see where the dashboard is based on, where the data comes from, actually, what kind of sheets do we have, one dashboard, 3 sheets, one workbook based on that data source. But actually, because we have an extract of the data, we don't see further. And this is where I now want to introduce you to the Tableau lineage within OneData. So we have also here the possibility to switch between multiple data maps. And let's fit it. And now you can see not only the data assets that you have here, like OneData, Postgres, and so on, but we also have a Tableau island. Let's go back one step or one level down. We have schemas, we have workbooks, dashboards, sheets, data sources, and also we still have highlighted here our data product on OneData. We go down one level further, and now we can see not only the lineage between all the raw data coming to the product, data product itself, but also that it has been extracted to that data source within Tableau. And also that data source contains or has delivers data for these 3 sheets is contained by that workbook. This workbook contains one dashboard, and these 3 sheets are shown in that dashboard. So you can directly see, even if the data is extracted to Tableau, where the data comes from. And also, if you can search, or if you want to search for ACVR, then all the information gets highlighted, not only on the data side, but also on where the information are used in Tableau, for example, down below here. Yes, we know that is actually an extract, but also in the next version, you will able to access the data products via an SQL interface, so you don't have to move the data, but you can use them wherever you want. Coming back to the session and to round up my presentation and my demo. So what we saw is actually we connected to multiple data sources. We discovered where the data is coming from based on data product requests. We can prepare the data within OneData, and directly based on these workflows, the edges, so the lines, the lineages between all the assets are created automatically. We saw that we can add quality checks automatically based on rules. we can deploy data products in a marketplace that shields actually people end users from the raw data, and also we can integrate into a third-party application. In this case, what we've shown here in Tableau. And now the question is, Neda, can you tell us about what are the next steps are?
Absolutely, Ollie. And thanks so much for giving us a super thorough overview of Tableau, what it looks like within One Data, how we connect, and obviously going through the use case. So for next steps, we actually offer a Marco Polo workshop. This is something that has proven to be very helpful and beneficial, and it's really focused on a business use case within your organization where you can actually meet with experts from our team who have lots of experience working within organizations to help them collect, build, deliver data prototypes, but also understanding a lot of the theories and methodologies around data mesh, working with data as a product, how really to bring data teams and business teams together to collaborate to get to really great end results. And so if you're interested in a Marco Polo workshop, we'll be sending a link out after this webinar where you can actually register and sign up. And at very least have some conversations about what does this really look like and what can it do for your organization. And last but not least, we can jump into any questions that we've got from the audience. And actually, I'll go ahead and pose the first question that I see, which is, what if my organization does not really implement data mesh? What if it's not a conversation that we're having today? What would that look like? And actually, in this particular case, it's a great opportunity to reach out to our team to have a conversation if you're looking to learn more about data mesh, what this would look like for your organization. If you're interested in looking at how to reduce friction and getting access to the actual data sources that you have, bringing it into One Data, this is something that the Marco Polo workshop would be a good fit for. But in addition to that, we have some great solutions that you can read through, customer stories on our website, and obviously talk to our very experienced team. And one more question, Ollie, you touched on this, but really, where can we run One Data? And the answer is there. You don't have to have a cloud provider. The Kubernetes-based tool can be set up on-premise, and obviously we have connections that support GCP, Azure, AWS, cloud environments, as well as many others. And I think that's a wrap on the questions piece, but actually brings us to time. And one more question actually from the audience we'll take. Ollie, I'm going to pose this one to you. How do I match data from different sources when aggregation levels are different? Example, product one is divided into 6 subproducts in source 2, but without info of product 1 in source 2. It's a great question.
Yeah, absolutely, great question. And actually, this is really a point where you have to, bring it into 2 data products where one data product has the same level to bring actually, or that the data steward that are using the data product should know about this aggregation. So this comes actually with proper description about the data product and how it get used, and also that it can be properly used in the front end tool actually.
Okay, and I'll just layer onto that. So within One Data, a lot of our capabilities and features, functionalities within the ability to prepare and quality check data, this is actually a big piece of the preparation step. So how do I find data assets that potentially have linkages? They might be imperfect linkages or opportunities to connect, but we actually have some built-in capabilities. And for this specific question, what I will do is have our team follow up with you to dive more into the details and actually follow up with like, what would be a realistic solution in this case? But again, we have some really great built-in ML and AI capabilities that help do a lot of this work and reduce a lot of the work that a person would manually need to do from a data science perspective. Okay, so we are officially over, but thank you all so much for joining us. And what you'll receive next, obviously a copy of the webinar and the materials that we promised. So links to the Marco Polo workshop. And if you're interested in having a personalized demo to understand what this can do for your business, I encourage you to actually head over to onedata.de and actually request a demo. Outside of that, feel free to reach out to us and we will be following up shortly. Thanks so much for your time. Thank you, Ollie.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
Ciao.